Welcome to Drive the Daf. Clear, structured explanation of the daily Daf in 20 minutes. You can even follow in the car.
Pesachim Daf Yud Zayin continues the ongoing discussion about the laws of Tumah and Tehara. In this Daf, the Gemara will be bringing a number of machloksin between several Tanaim and Amoraim. The Gemara will be comparing and contrasting their opinions. The Gemara will be matching up the opinions of different Tanaim or even the same Tanaim or Amoraim in various machloksin, seeing how they fit together and trying to bring proofs from one to the other. It can get confusing to try to keep track of all the different machloksin. So let's try to break it down piece by piece. The first machlokes the Gemara is discussing refers to a conversation between Chagai Hanavi and the Kehanim in the Beis HaMikdash, or just before the building of the second Beis HaMikdash, where Chagai was testing the Kehanim. So the pasuk in the Sefer, the Navi Chagai records that he asked them two questions and then he commented. So the first thing he asked them was the following scenario. He said that if somebody will have a sheretz, a dead rodent, which is a source of tumah, held in the corner of his cloak, and he touches that to bread, and the bread to a bowl of stew, the stew to wine, and then the wine to oil. What is the halacha of the oil? So the Kohanim said, it's tahar. Now, the machlokes, Rav and Shmuel, this is our first machlokes, were they right or were they wrong? Was it really tahar or was it really tamei? Rav says they were wrong. It was tamei because it's a revi'i b'kodesh. That is, it is carbon meat, and carbon meat is tamei if it's a fourth level tumah. Here you have fourth level. You took the sheretz, that's the source. It touched the bread is 1, the soup is 2, the wine is 3, the oil is 4. Fourth level kachim is tamei, and therefore the Kohanim were wrong when they said it's tahar. Shmuel says no, here it was fifth level tumah. The Gemara says, what do you mean? We just counted 4. The Gemara says no. The language is v'naga biknafai. It touched in the corner. That means that we didn't take the sheretz in the corner of his cloak and touch the bread. Something which touched that sheretz went and touched the bread. That something, whatever it was the rishon, first level. The bread is the second, the soup is the third, the wine is the fourth, and the oil is the fifth. And we know that kachim, carbonos, materials do not contract fifth level tumah, and therefore it really was tahar, and they were correct. Now the Gemara says, well, then let's discuss the second question that Chagai asked them. He asked them, what if somebody who's tamei meis, the phrase clearly is tamei nefesh, what if a tamei nefesh went and touched these things, which the Gemara understands means the same list. So the Gemara is assuming somebody who was tamei meis, who was a source of tumah, he's called avatoma, he went and he touched this whole list. Here clearly it's fourth level tumah, and the Kohanim said yitma, they said it's tamei. So now according to Shmuel, this makes a lot of sense. They knew all the halachos. They knew the first question they were asked, they knew it was tar because it's fifth level tumah. Here they knew that it's tamei because it's fourth level tumah. According to Rav, we have a problem. Before it was fourth level tumah, and this is also fourth level tumah. How come before they got it wrong and said it's tahar, and here they got it right and said it's tamei? If they understand that fourth level tumah is tamei in kachim, they should get it right both times. So Gemara answers, they knew hilchos tumas meis, that fourth level tumah. They did not know that in hilchos tumas sheretz, fourth level tumah is also tamei in karbanos. That was their mistake. That's Gemara's first answer. The Gemara's second answer is that really they thought that fourth level tumah is tahar altogether. Here, what Chagai was asking them was third level tumah. How is this third level tumah? When we said tamei nefesh, we weren't talking about a person who was tamei meis. We're talking about a body itself. The body itself is what's called avi avos hatumah. It makes the person who touches it or the object who touches it into an avatoma. So here you have the mace itself which touched the bread. The bread becomes an avatoma, a source of tumah. The soup then is first level, the wine is second level, and the oil, which is the final thing that they were being asked about, that's third level. So you got here, it's third level, and they knew that third level is tamei, that's why they said correctly here, but fourth level they did not know, and that's what they answered incorrectly earlier. Okay, now the Gemara has another attempted proof to the opinion of Rav or Shmuel. The Gemara says when Chagai answered them and he said, he said all these people and everything that they're going to do is tamei. Now according to Rav, I understand, of course it's tamei because they didn't know the halacha, they made a mistake. According to Shmuel, they answered everything correctly. What's the problem? The Gemara says no, he wasn't saying that it's correct. he wasn't saying that it's tamei. He was speaking in a language of surprise. He was saying, could it be that it's tamei? And you're right. He was asking, should it be that the things they will do will be tamei, meaning to say, not the opposite. It'll be fine. So the Gemara says, but that can't fit because it says v'chein kol ma'aseh yadehem, and so, meaning he's not. The language implies that following based on their answers, he's now saying that this is what will happen. So the Gemara therefore offers a different answer. The Gemara says he's not saying this as a conclusion based on their wrong answers. He's saying it if the v'chein is referring to a nevuah that he had, that sometime in the future their actions will deteriorate and they will become sinners, and then things that they touch will become tamei and messed up. The Gemara now introduces two additional machlokes, and the Gemara compares the two to see how they line up. One of these machlokes we've seen earlier, and one is new. They're both referring to a statement which we had said earlier of Rav Yossi ben Yoezer about liquids of the Beis Hamikdash. He said that liquids of the Beis Hamikdash are tahar, even though they may be tamei elsewhere in the Beis Hamikdash, they're tahar. Now, which liquids are these referring to? So, according to Levi, the language that he used was Beis Midbechaya. That means liquids that go on the Beis Hamikdash, that go on the Mizbeach. That refers to blood, water, wine, and oil. All these things go on the Mizbeach at some time. All these things do not have tumah in the Beis Hamikdash. That is Levi's understanding. Rav's understanding is that he said Beis Mitbechaya, which means the butcher house. That refers to blood and the water that's used to wash the meat. However, wine and oil are not included in this statement. So again, it boils down the machlokes between Rav and Levi is what is the halacha according to Beis ben Yoezer of wine and oil in the Beis Hamikdash. According to Levi, they are included in Yossi ben Yezer's statement that they are tahar. According to Rav, they're not included, and those can be tamei. Now, when we say that they are tahar, what do we mean? So that's another separate machlokes, and this is our second one between Rav and this time Shmuel. Rav says when we say tahar, we mean they're tahar completely. They do not become tamei at all. According to Shmuel, they do become tamei. They just don't transmit tumah further. Now let's compare and contrast these two machlokes in the light of what we've seen so far with Chagai's questions to the Kohanim. Chagai asked the Kohanim about wine and oil. Now, wine and oil, according to Levi, those can never become tamei. They're included in Yossi ben Yezer's statement that they don't become tamei. So how does this make any sense? So Gemara says it'll have to be that Levi will say, like Shmuel and the other machlokes, that when we say that they don't become tamei, we mean they don't transmit tamei further, but they do become tamei themselves. And therefore the wine and oil here can become tamei themselves. Now the problem is that here the oil transmitted tumah to the wine. So how do you understand that? So Gemara says it has to be that he'll explain that the case when Chagai asked the Kohanim, he wasn't saying that it was a line where one was matami the next, which was matami the next, which was matami the next. When he said that they touch a tamei mace, each one individually touched a tamei mace, and therefore the wine touched a tamei mace, the oil touched a tamei mace, and that's why each one of them was able to be mekabel tumah itself. And that's why the halacha over there correctly was that they are each tamei. In the previous question that he asked them, there was a chain. Where there was the sheretz, there was a chain, and there they answered that it was tahar, and that was correct there. It was tahar because the wine can't transmit tumah to the oil. That's why that makes sense. But here where they said tamei, and they were correct, it had to be that each one separately touched the source of tumah. It can't be that the wine was mekabel tumah and then passed it on to the oil. That's how Levi will have to understand that. The Gemara then says, interestingly though, Shmuel will not say like Levi. Shmuel's going to prefer to say like Rav, that the wine and oil are not included in the statement that liquids of the Beis Hamikdash are tahar. Shmuel would rather say that wine and oil are regular tumah, because the question Chagai asked implies that the only reason that these things are tahar is because it was a revi'i l'tumah, because it was a fourth level tumah, or a fifth level, according to Shmuel's understanding even, and therefore it was too far away, the transmission was too long, and they became tahar. However, it wasn't because it would not if it would have been an earlier level of tumah, it would have been tamei. That's how Shmuel's understanding the case. Therefore, Shmuel has to say that it's got to be that wine can pass tumah to oil. Otherwise, Chaggai's first question we wouldn't understand. Why is it that it's the fifth level tumah that makes it tar? It should be tar just because wine can't pass tumah further. Therefore, he's not going to say like Levi. He'll say like Rav, that when Yossi ben Yoezer said that liquids of the Beis Hamikdash are the tahar, he wasn't talking about wine and oil, he was only talking about blood and water. Now the Gemara says we actually have a brisa which supports Rav and a brisa which supports Levi. Again, let's remember the machlokes between Rav and Levi was what, when we said that liquids of the Beis Hamikdash are tahar, were we including wine and oil? So the Gemara says we have a brisa that supports Levi, that we were, and the brisa clearly says Levi's opinion. It says blood, wine, oil, and water, which are called liquids of the Mizbeach, mashki bei midbechaya. If they became tamei inside the azara and then were taken out, they stay tahar. Even when they come out, they are tahar, because they never became tamei in the first place. And if they became tamei outside the Beis Hamikdash, they stay tamei, even if they're brought inside. Meaning this brisa, first of all, it spells out Levi's opinion, but it also adds the halacha that the status of these liquids doesn't change when you move it in or out of the Beis Hamikdash. Wherever it was, whatever halacha it got based on where it was exposed to tumah in the first place is what stays with it. If it was exposed in the Beis Hamikdash, it didn't stick and it stays tahar. If it was exposed outside the Beis Hamikdash, it did stick and it becomes tameh, even if it comes into the Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara now questions that concept. Before we go further, the Gemara says, but Hakadabi, we have a statement of Yeshua ben Levi that says that the liquids of the Mizbeach are only pure inside, bim kaimon, in their place. Outside, they become tameh. That seems to imply that when you move it out of the Beis Hamikdash, it's halacha, it changes retroactively. Gemara says, no, we didn't mean to say that they become tameh. Listen, we meant if they were exposed to tumah outside the Beis Hamikdash, then the tumah sticks over there. That's what do you mean? But it says bim in their place they're tahar. It sounds like you take them out, then they're tameh. Gemara says, no, we mean if it was exposed to tumah in their place. We don't mean that if it was exposed to tumah in their place and then moved out, the halacha will change. That's not what we meant. Okay, now what's the brisa that clearly supports Rav's approach? So this brisa has a similar list, but it only says blood and water. It says blood and water, which is in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Beis Mitbechaya, those are tahar. Now that supports Rav. Now this brisa though brings in another wrinkle over here, and it brings us to our next machlokas, and that is, where are these liquids when we're saying that they are tahar? According to the Tanakama in this brisa, it doesn't matter where they are. Anywhere in the Beis Hamikdash, whether they're on the floor or they're in a kli, they are tahar. The tumah doesn't stick to them once they're in the Beis Hamikdash. Tumah of these liquids is only their abanon, and therefore it doesn't stick at all. Now, that's the Tanakama's opinion, but that is disagreed with by Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says no. The only thing that's tahar is if it's on the floor. And the reason is that midaraisa, liquids that are on the floor, or at least water on the floor, the Gemara will say later, water that's on the floor is a mikvah. You could use it, as long as it's a revius of water, you could use it as a mikvah to toivel a needle. You don't need to have 40 saw. It's only the Rabbanan who came along and said, no. A mikvah has to be a minimum of 40 saw. And therefore, if you have a little puddle of water on the floor, it's not a mikvah. Now, once it's not a mikvah, it could actually be tameh. A mikvah can't be tameh. You can't say, if it has the power to take tumah off other things, it cannot be makabel tumah itself. Now, says Rabbi Shimon, so water that's on the floor, midaraisa is tahar, midarabanan is tameh. That halacha comes off in the Beis Hamikdash. We don't have derabanans like that in the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore it's tahar in the Beis Hamikdash. However, water in a kli is always tameh, and therefore Rabbi Shimon will say that there's a distinction between water on the floor and water in a kli about this halacha that liquids in the Beis Hamikdash are tahar. It's only true about water on the floor. It's not true about water in a kli. Okay, now the Gemara wants to analyze the halacha of Yossi ben Yoezer more deeply. Yossi ben Yoezer again had said that liquids in the Beis Hamikdash are tahar, and we had been understanding up till now that what it means to say is that these are liquids that are tamei outside the Beis Hamikdash midirabanan, and inside the Beis Hamikdash that gezer derabanan does not apply. So Gemara says that Rav Papa holds not that way. Rav Papa says it's not the reason. The reason is that really outside the Beis Hamikdash, these liquids are Tamei D'Oraisa. Well, the reason why they're tahar inside the Beis Hamikdash is there's a halacha l'Moshe Misinai. It's not a Rabbanon that comes off. It's halacha l'Moshe Misinai, a special zera, special halacha l'Moshe Misinai that takes off the tumah d'oraisa inside the Beis Hamikdash. Now the Gemara has two kashas on this. The Gemara's first kasha is that way back on Daf Tes Zayin, we had a statement of Rabbi Elazar who learned out of the statement of Rabbi Yossi ben Yoezer that all liquids have tumah only d'Rabbanon. He derived it from the fact that Yossi ben Yoezer says that their tumah comes off inside the Beis Hamikdash. He says, how could he learn that? According to Rav Papa, that it's really d'oraisa and it's halacha l'Moshe Misinai that the tumah comes off in the Beis Hamikdash. You do not see anything here about tumah of liquids being d'Rabbanan. This has nothing to do with that at all. The opposite is true. Tumah of liquids is d'oraisa, but in the Beis Hamikdash, a special halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So that statement of the Tana, Rabbi Elazar, doesn't make sense. The Gemara's next problem is from the statement we just saw in the name of Rabbi Shimon, who said that there is that we distinguish between liquids in a kli, and Rav Papa in a minute clarifies it, says it's only water in a kli. Water in a kli in the Beis Hamikdash, which is tamei. It's only water that's on the ground in the Beis Hamikdash, which is tahar. So the Gemara says if you want to say that the reason that it's tahar is because their abanans don't apply in the Beis Hamikdash. Now I understand why we would distinguish between water in a kli and water on the ground. Water on the ground is tahar d'oraisa. It's only tamei midirabanan, and that the rabbanan comes off in the Beis Hamikdash. But if this is a halachah l'Moshe Misinai, then it should apply equally. What's the difference between water on the ground or water in a kli? Either way, it has the tumah. You should take it off halachah l'Moshe Misinai. Therefore, the Gemara seems to move away from this. However, Papa also says, like we said, that it's only water that you differentiate between in the ground and on a kli, and it's also only if you have a revius, so that there's enough to be used as a mikvah midaraisa, and therefore it's tahar deraisa. Less than a revius would not have any special halacha. Okay, the Gemara has now concluded its discussion of the tumah of liquids in the Beis Hamikdash. The Gemara now returns to an old machlokas which we have discussed two daf earlier about the tumah of liquids in general. We had seen three opinions brought by 5 Tanaim. The Gemara now wants to focus specifically on the opinion of Rabbi Huda, who had said that liquids are tamei d'oraisa, both they themselves are tamei d'oraisa, and they can transmit tumah further also midaraisa. The Gemara challenges this from a Mishnah where Rabbi Huda seems to say otherwise. The Mishnah is discussing the tumah of kalim, and it says that kalim that can be used inside and outside, they have a containing surface on their inside. You can place things into them. You can also turn them inside out and use the outside as a container. An example of that would be a bag, a pillowcase, a leather sack. All these things can be used inside and outside. Now, the Tanakama says no matter what type of tumah it is, if the tumah touches the inside, the entire thing is tamei. If it touches the outside, only the outside is tamei. Rabbi Huda says there's a difference between liquids and a sheret. If a sheret is the one that is transmitting tumah to this thing, then it doesn't matter where it touches, inside, outside, it's tumah, it's tamei completely. If it's liquids, then we distinguish if the inside was touched and the entire thing is tamei. If the outside was touched, then only the outside is tamei. Now the Gemara says, why should this difference between liquids and other things apply? Why should liquids only work if it touches the inside, not if it touches the outside? The reason must be that the tumah of liquids is only d'Rabbanan, and therefore we have a special halacha to make a limitation in the tumah of something which is only d'Rabbanan, so that people keep in mind that it's only d'Rabbanan, and you cannot necessarily burn and destroy kachim and truma if it becomes tamei from it, because it's only tumah d'Rabbanan. So this doesn't fit with the opinion of Rabbi Huda that we were saying earlier, that he holds that everything is d'Oraisa. So the Gemara offers two approaches. The Gemara wants to say, first of all, well, Rabbi Huda changed. He no longer says that it's all d'Oraisa. He now changed and says that it's actually only d'Rabbanan as far as transmitting tumah to other things. And the Gemara says a potential second shot that maybe there's two types of liquids. There's tamei liquids that they became tamei from a sheretz themselves, or perhaps we're talking about tamei liquids that were touched by somebody who didn't wash netilas yadayim. We know that that's definitely d'Rabbanan halacha. Somebody didn't wash netilas yadayim, his hands are considered to be a sheni l'tumah, and the liquids that they touch go actually further and become a rishon l'tumah. Now the Gemara rejects this. The Gemara says it can't be that there's two different types of tumah of water, because that one is Derabanan and one is Deraisa, because if that was true, then when he's giving the different halachas of this kli, that in one situation it's mekabel tumah on the entire thing, and one it's only mekabel on the inside surface or the outside surface, then he should have distinguished between two types of water. Water that's tamei derabanan, water that's tamei deraisa. You shouldn't have distinguished between water and a sheretz. Obviously, all water is the same halacha, and all water is only tamei derabanan. And Rabbi Yehuda changed from his previous halacha, where he had said that it's tamei deraisa. Gemara now wants to know, what exactly does he hold when we say that he now holds that it's tamei only derabanan? Which of the other two opinions of Tanaim does he hold like? Does he go like Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Elazar that it's completely tahar deraisa, it has only tumah derabanan, or is it go like Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon that there's a difference between food and kalim? Kalim are tahar derabanan, are tahar deraisa, only tamei derabanan, but food actually has tumah deraisa. Gemara brings a proof from this from the case of a cow that was slaughtered with paraduma water inside it, that doesn't seem to get tumah from that paraduma water, and that's food. So the Gemara has a lengthy discussion on that, which we shall pick up on that.
Drive the Daf is a project of the Grand Woodlands Shul and is presented by Rabbi Yitzchak Landa. Find us on YouTube or subscribe to daily emails by emailing drivethedaf@gmail.com.